At Ducati, we create race bikes, road bikes, and unique experiences for our bikers. The Ducati team participates in 19 races in 15 countries on 5 continents as part of the MotoGP championships around the globe. When you own a bike, you are part of a new family, the Ducatisti. Data is at the heart of Ducati digital strategy. In racing, we collect data from over 60 physical sensors on the bike. Now, using machine learning and artificial intelligence, we can use virtual sensors that give us new data that wasn't available before. We choose NetApp as our hybrid cloud partner because they truly understand the value and the power of data. They are the data authority. The simplicity of NetApp's technology enables us to leverage data in new ways, where real-time feedback delivers a more race-like experience for our customers. We can focus on transforming the sport of MotoGP racing and enhance the road bike experience through data. The bike we race on Sunday is the bike we sell on Monday. I'm Andrea Spina and I am data-driven.
Africa is a continent of innovation and creativity. We are a continent of a melting pot of cultures, people, and businesses. So how do we inspire a continent to do even more great things? With technology, of course. Technology helps build communities, enables people to communicate better, and encourages the very entrepreneurial spirit that is Africa. Which is why Comstore is partnering with African businesses to enable and encourage innovation through technology. At Comstore Africa, we are working with our partners to help inspire African businesses. With the use of unique technologies, in partnership with leading vendors, we are creating the solutions that organizations need to leave a positive impact on the lives of all Africans. No matter the challenges, connectivity, remote locations, COVID-19, the digital divide, your Comstore team is helping build solutions that will enable innovation, fuel development, and keep businesses connected, no matter what faces us today or tomorrow. Join us on this journey as we and our partners Cisco, NetApp, Veritas, and SolarWinds aim to inspire Africa, leading with technology and becoming part of the business solution. As we adjust to a new normal, where business has been irrevocably changed, we will overcome. And as a continent and as partners, we will provide our customers with solutions that ensure that you remain business relevant today, tomorrow, together. Together, we are part of the solution. Inspire Africa today.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Comstore NetApp Sub-Saharan Africa Summit. My name is Rakesh Parbu. I am the CEO for Westcon Comstore in Sub-Saharan Africa, and it's my privilege to be your MC today. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers over the next 2 and a bit hours, and I'm hoping that you enjoy it and that this is a really informative but also exciting webinar for you today. So for those of you who might be using our in-house platform venue for the first time, as you'll see, obviously you're in the plenary room at the moment, and we will go through 3 brilliant keynote speakers, followed by a breakout session. And when we get there, and I will remind you at the time, you just need to click on which breakout you want to join. Basically, we're running the same session, but we're running it in a Portuguese language and English language version as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think today is about an exciting view on what technology and storage can really do for businesses. And very often we look at these in the corporate world, but today I've got a really exciting lineup that involves one of NetApp and our partners, Ducati, and we are very privileged to be joined first off this morning. And our first keynote speaker is Konstantin Konstantinov, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Ducati Motor Holdings. Constantine was born in Bulgaria, but he spent the last 25 years of his life in Italy. His career has been focused on managing complex innovation, process optimization, and performance management projects. He spent over 6 years as ICT operations and service manager for Ferrari, and then 2 years at Seven as the chief technology officer. He's got a really strong technical background and degree in IT engineering. He then moved to Ducati in 2017, developed the technology transformation of Ducati, moving to a cloud-oriented company and driving projects such as LinkApp and building the digital twin of the motorcycle and bringing that to life. Since last year, Constantine is also leading the IT for Ducati course. It's the racing division within Ducati Motor Holdings, and ensuring teams can work with the best technologies and embrace data-driven evolution to improve strategies and the bike's performance. So if I can start by welcoming Constantine into the room with me. Constantine, thank you very much for joining us today. Really looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for your presentation.
And the exciting overview. And Constantine, I'm going to hand over to you to take it away.
So thank you very much for the very kind presentation. And hello, and everybody. And it's some kind of unusual way to meet all of you, because otherwise we will meet maybe in some place in Africa. But now the technology permits us to face this kind of social and digital distancing. So today I will try to explore something new about Ducati and give you a different overview of what is Ducati. So today we will not talk about wheels and engines, but we will present the Ducati from a new point of view. What is the data behind the brand and how Ducati deal with the new normal? So let's see, what is Ducati? Ducati is a style, sophistication, performance, and trust. This is the 4 pillars that we based our brand experience. A beautiful, never-ending story that comes from the past and is projected to the future. We put the Italian sense of innovation, the great desire to explore into the next level in a world where the physical spaces no longer exist and where the explore become more and more difficult. We are trying to make the experience of the physical and the virtual world of our sensation becomes one thing. And using our imagination, we start to experience and unleash both things while you are on the saddle of your motorcycle and while we are on every other place. So Ducati's presence confirms how our efforts are following the imagination of our project engineers, the evolution, the desire to always improve this both universe, physical and virtual. Our global presence since the last 5 years is increased by 100%, and we offer 2 different plants in Thailand and Brazil. We have our main quarter in Bologna in Italy. This growth in every single business aspect that also reflects to an unstoppable opening of every single line of business towards of innovative approach, innovative collaboration, change and innovation at all. And in this unique global context as nowadays. Today, when all around us people talk about extreme time to market, product made for failure, agile thinking, lean action, extreme flexibility, and so on, Ducati is a great and a beautiful challenge. A challenge that plays 2 apparently disjuncted universes like racing and road bikes together. And this conjunction is possible only because of data, information, knowledge, and understanding. So you can imagine that creating a deep transformation path inside our environment is not easy. And that's why we call it to understand what we need to do and what kind of technology, the best technology we need to use in order to accomplish that. For example, in this deep digital transformation of processes and not only of technologies, Ducati's IT is called to respond with the best technology that allow us to increase the speed of response of our business requests, and from other sides to improve the customer's experience of our clients and our Ducati team. So all this is possible not only because we use the technology, the right technology, but because the technology needs to hide the complexity of itself. We start to talk about performance on the same level of our business colleagues, not only a tech performance, but customers-oriented business performance, embracing all business processes that become a visionary path for incredibly powerful improvement of the experience of our customers. In this digital transformation path, not only the technology, but also the data mining and speed of reaction is very important. In this context, Ducati has undertaken a roadmap that makes it becomes a data-driven company. Let's see a little bit on the two words. For example, on the left side, you can see our racing world, and on the right hand, the road bikes. In the racing, we know how to generate the assumption to collect the huge amount of data, and how to analyze this data and give us the advantage to win the race. This experience, after this, is directly moved to our road motorcycles, shaping and giving an amazing inspiration of living and riding the specific moments for our customers. This year, unfortunately, the MotoGP world changed as everything around us. But instead of this, Ducati Racing Team participated in more than 19 races in 15 countries on 5 continents. So the riders that better knowing their driving skills must take advantage of the best of their motorcycles in every single moment during the race. For us, the most important thing becomes to collect as much data as possible in the shortest time and turn them into information and knowledge. That becomes understanding that may gain time, speed, and continuous increase of performance of our racing motorcycles. Here, the most striking example for understanding the link between the speed and data, the data over the racing motorcycles. How the racing motorcycles teams takes advantage of technology. In order to ensure that the data is a winning card in area of competitiveness, where the different of a way to manage data and to manage the performance of the motorcycle makes the difference of a few thousands of seconds on the finish line. Ducati Racing Team adopt the best technology and a deep understanding of how to use this data. The winning card can be determined also by the speed with which, during the tests, the data are collected, transformed into a useful information inside our mini data center based on the HCI, hyperconverged infrastructure, inside the box, and proceed this data in order to take the right decision and at least reload it on the bike in order to improve the performance. In the last years, we win the same race in 29 and 23 milliseconds. All this flight in the final 400 meters was prepared over days and days of strategical analysis of data and the riding experience. So, what about the track? On the track, our motorcycle have more than 60 physical sensors. All these data are processing and analysis during the test, and this helped the MotoGP team to provide its riders with the performing bikes. This huge amount of data, more or less more than 30 gigabytes for race, are nothing without the telemetry processing. On the other hand, we don't need to transmit all this data from each track to the headquarters in order to put it inside our high-performance computing cluster. But we can elaborate this data directly on the track, thanks to the NetApp HCI. This is increasing our competitiveness and speed up of the performance of our motorcycle. I think that we are the only one racing team that have a mini HPC, high performance computing cluster on the track. After this, they are downloaded to the mini data center and elaborated and loaded on the telemetry software. Engineers can analyze this and process strategies, make changes, and reload it to the bike. The speed with which this happens depends strongly on the technology we use. The best technology provides more processing time, more information, more different strategy to choose, and more possibility to victory. Another very important thing is that all collected data from the physical sensors, thanks to our machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithm, we are able to bring those data together to create other virtual sensors that give us additional information that is not available before. Sorry, because I hope that my internet connection is good. I will go ahead for now. Okay. Keep in mind that in MotoGP racing is not permitted to modify remotely the bike's setting during the race, like in Formula 1, for example. This means that all strategical decisions must be done during the tests, and during the race, only the rider can change the settings that was prepared during the test before the race. Last but not the least, the need to optimize everything in the box. Space, weight, need to be agile to move every week to another place and to have a rugged and every time up and running infrastructure is very, very important. So we think that with NetApp HCI, we are able to accomplish all needs of our racing teams. I was telling before that in racing, we know how to collect and how to manage the data. The experience is directly moved to our road motorcycles. The flow of data, of course, is two-way, just because like the extreme competitiveness of the racing makes it possible to explore situations that are not feasible on the road. On the same hand, the universe that represents all Ducati's motorcycles in the world gives us the opportunity to have information and flexibility that the racing world, given their regulation, of course, does not have. We want to leverage data in a new way and transform the MotoGP sport racing experience onto the road motorbikes experience, and vice versa, of course. So we transform this kind of information and data in connected vehicle, in connected motorcycle. We collect data from thousands and thousands of motorcycles in different situations of weather, roads, driving modes, environment, temperature, state of the bike itself, etc. That within our core data center become valuable information for real-time feedback to the customers, improvement of the customer's experience, useful information for all our line of business. What is the data infrastructure helping us to do this? The best technology help us to do things that we never can imagine before. We renew completely our data center. We do realize one remote site for sharing workloads and for disaster recovery environment. And we embrace the opportunity that the public cloud can give us. We have an AF 700 full-fledged storage in the headquarters from the main and core workloads, to FAS 8200 full-fledged storage for the remote sites and for the Ducati racing team. On top storage replica and data fabric configuration, we use a full storage grid implemented for the Darsena from in data center to the data sync and the snapshot that give us the possibility to have a very powerful and consistent data disaster recovery environment. So in this kind of situation, of course, this year COVID break all our plans, but we put the basis of our flexibility. So we was ready to adjust our way to do the things. At the end of this year, we hope to connect more than 25,000 or maybe 30,000 of motorcycles. And we extend the retrocompatibility of our application to other models inside the other that are already out of production. Next year, we will connect another models and we produce more and more connected motorcycles. So what happened in this environment in the new normal? In the 15th of February, we locked down. In this case, we start to think about how we can redesign our processes, how we can do something in order to do not interrupt the production or to do not interrupt the processes of all our line of businesses. Of course, the production plant was stopped and locked down for months, but we continue to work in a remote way. All configuration of that, or our data centers and the distributed data that we use permit us to transform our environment from desktop-centric enterprise to the completely mobile-first enterprise. In the meantime, our internal task force, redesign completely traditional shop floor and make it ready to for the return in production. We redesign the workload that inside our disaster recovery infrastructure can be put it and used to increase the performance and to be able to deliver new services to our colleagues of all our line of businesses. The challenges was coming to the Ducati IT for all our colleagues. The sales ask data during the lockdown. The shop floor need to be redesigned. The network need to be redesigned. R&D department never stopped. We are able to provide remotely workstation to our R&D department, and we accomplished this in 2 weeks. Only in 2 weeks, we put all our desktop-centric R&D engineers to the remote working engineers. So, what's next? The main change that we applied was on the connectivity, because on an enterprise that everything is concentrated to the specific places, have specific requests. We transform our environment in completely connected environment, so we increase and reinforce our connectivity. One more step to digitalize all our business colleagues, starting from our sales department, because of course, if we don't sell bikes, nothing has sense. We redesign our virtual device environment and move it from the headquarters to the remote site and balance all workloads. And this permits us to have more and more remotely connected users. And of course, do not face problems about bandwidth or something else about the computational power or storage availability. We start to share a core operation workloads with our disaster recovery sites and redesign everything. So all this, of course, expose us additional risks. The cybersecurity risk and what the web security before was different, because the exposed perimeter was, of course, different. So we spent a lot of time to study what we need to do in order to reinforce our security during all this path of transformation. How I say, we transform and adjust our roadmaps. So we are quickly move from the private cloud-oriented roadmap to the hybrid cloud, and now we are thinking about the multi-cloud environment. In other words, we think how we are be able to share workloads dynamic way between a different private clouds without needs of interruption of services. The HCI case that we have inside the racing team was some kind of bench for all Ducati. So we distribute the HCI infrastructure inside our main subsidiaries like Thailand and North America. And this helps us to connect directly to the headquarters and be able to share data and workloads between the main plant and the headquarters. From technology point of view, you have a computational speed, and we have amount of data available in real time to be processed or analyzed, potentially in infinite information too. So we could raise the paradigm of time to the data paradigm. While this, because let me ask something. It was to lose money or to waste time. The money comes and goes. They can be reinvested, but wasting time is going forever. And what determines the timing nowadays? In the racing world, the time is contracted, but every millisecond becomes eternity. In the real world, this is a different way to think about the time. One trip can be a never-ending story. So we approach all our roadmap to our evolution to this new paradigm of data. The data and our ability to process the information allow us to transform our environment from the time is money oriented into the data and information is money oriented approach. So, as my head of department said in the video before, the bike we put on the race on Sunday is the bike we sell on Monday. But the Motobici now must go on. So you was call it another time to reinvent the way that we approach the processes during the racing. The technology help us another time to do this. We have a DNA racing so that we bring the everyday motorbiker experience into the racing motorbiker experience. So we transform the process. We apply a technology to keep the people distancing inside the race in order to be safe and do not interrupt because of COVID all processes. The communication inside the box use a specific technology that allow the riders to communicate with the engineers. The test that we have now we are restricted. We have less data, but we need to do more analytics. That means more simulation cycles, more attention on the transformation of the data, more robust data transformation. And in this case, with the best technology, you can accomplish that. So we focus on the mobility inside the racing team and use advanced video conferencing. And of course, because another time the perimeter is increased, we apply a specific cybersecurity procedure and processes. We reshape our data center because, of course, all of this needs to be redesigned. We work to create a product that is increasingly intelligent, ever smarter, more and more connected. I mean our road bikes. That pays off by providing us with extremely important data in every faster and more detailed manner. Imagine how my words in this moment reach each one of you. My words reach you, and your brain store data. Every one of you process this data and with certain speed and transform it into information according to your environment and the world inside you. Everyone use their brains differently, and also the percentage of use is different. But if you were to add all these processes together, we will get a holistic result that will surprise everyone, and that will definitely close the false myth that we use only 10% of our brands. The same thing we experience with the NetApp technology. We are increasing the speed with which we connect and collect the information from the bikes. Our remote data center nodes are synchronized in real time, allowing flexibility in disaster recovery. We have recovered a huge amount of space using this. We are always faster to give answer to the business 10% better and faster. We can deliver a solution in about 30% time less than before. The holistic approach to data management we share with our partners and with the NetApp technology help us to arrive at this concept in easy and intuitive way, because we start the collaboration only 1.5 years ago, but we are a very specific and very innovative point. So what next? We trace the path and we are following our strategy, increasing the speed of our digital information, because in our horizon there is a data. We start to think about not only by the motorcycle and the connected bike, but we start to think about the customer, connected customer. We are deeply transforming our approach to our customer, to the fabric and to the world around us. The best service to the customer, thanks to the predictive analytics and machine learning, give us the opportunity to better serve the environment too, because we think that the happy people in a good universe act in a good way. So thank you for your attention and welcome to Ducati's family.
Thank you, Konstantin. That was really interesting. It's amazing how your business and look, lots of corporates have a requirement for data in real time, but when it makes milliseconds of the difference in winning a race or how you perform, it's a really incredible understanding of how you utilize data. I also found it very interesting when you talk about that. Because of COVID and the current season, you've got less ability to test, and you've got to utilize the data that you have for more simulations. And being able, at least having that data, helping you still keep the team on the go. And then how you link that back to both your consumer and retail side of the bike, and the data that's passed between them. I want to just ask you a question in terms of the MotoGP. As a result of COVID, are there less people that are actually allowed now to be at the track than there would have been in the past from a team perspective? And does that mean, therefore, that you have a lot more people remotely involved in the engineering than that would normally have been on the garage floor, I suppose?
Mm-hmm. Yes. In fact, nowadays, our racing team that move from one location to another location in order to support the riders are composed by the fewer people. So some of our engineers working remotely, and we connect them not to the headquarter data center, but directly to the HCI on the track, in order to give them the perspective to be directly to the racing track. Because during the 2 days before the race, when we do the tests, is a very important the link between the rider, the bike, and the engineer that elaborate the data. So in this case, this kind of seamless connection is a very important, and not all technologies are able to do this.
Okay.
I don't know if I reply well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks. We have a question from one of the viewers. Said excellent presentation and thank you. Did you always have a disaster recovery plan that you had in place, or was it just activated during COVID-19, or was it built up from scratch?
So this our disaster recovery was built on scratch 2 years ago, not for the COVID. We designed it 2 years ago and finalized it with NetApp colleagues some months before signing our partnerships, but it was one of the winning cards. But we design these disaster recovery sites with the thoughts, with the objective, with the goal to give us the opportunity and the flexibility to transform the headquarter data center in the future. And that's why we was able to transform the company from desk-centric company to the mobile company in less than 1 month.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Using remote workload, remote connection, and so on.
Right. And are the majority of Ducati employees, as a result, still working remotely at this time? Outside of your office environments, and obviously, and I'm talking holistically as the organization. Is that still the case today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Konstantin, thank you very much. Really an honor to have you join us today. Thank you for taking the time and sharing a real case study with us. I wish you and the Ducati team all the best in the MotoGP season, and do look forward to talking to you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you. Bye.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, what an interesting understanding of how to really use technology in a real world environment. Our next presenter probably has the coolest title that I've seen in a while. He's the Chief Technology Evangelist for the Worldwide Enterprise and Commercial Organization within NetApp. Matt Watts, welcome to the summit. Matt provides guidance on NetApp's overall strategy and technology solutions to a huge range of customers and the global partners. He's part of the global sales leadership team within NetApp and provides advice and guidance on technology and transformation. He started his career as an aircraft engineer and has since accumulated about apparently 25 years of IT experience, and 15 of those have been with NetApp. He's been involved in a number of roles, overseeing significant IT projects, teams of system engineers, on-site and off-site support, as well as IT outsourcing contracts. So, this experience has put him in contact with probably all levels of IT leadership and all sizes of businesses. And he's also a sought-after keynote speaker, apparently, within the industry. Does a lot of on-stage performances. So today we're very privileged to welcome you, Matt, to our virtual stage. And I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you for being with us.
So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. And like I think the other speakers have said, such a shame that we can't do these things in person, because it would be nice to meet with you all. But yeah, great to be here. I just wanted to also say thank you to Konstantin and to the Ducati team for their partnership, and wish them the very best of luck this weekend. It's race weekend at Le Mans this weekend, so a big part of the Ducati MotoGP season. So I wanted to share a few thoughts with you over the next course of this next little period. And really, the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about was something that's not really related to IT. I'm a huge fan of Douglas Adams, and many of you will know Douglas from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, probably the most famous book that he wrote. But it isn't the book that I wanted to talk about. It was one of the quotes that he talked about, because as well as being a writer, Douglas Adams was also a little bit of a philosopher. And the quote that always resonated with me, and it's not "Don't panic," which is probably the one many of you are already thinking of. No, he had this quote, and it just, when I think of the pace of technology change, the speed at which things are moving, it can become very easy to almost dismiss things, these new things, because we can't quite see what the relevance is. And so his quote goes like this. He says, "Every piece of technology that exists in the world when you're born is normal." Just think about that for a second. We're about to see the launch of the iPhone 12. Anyone born into this world today will not know a world without that technology. He then goes on to say, any piece of technology that comes along before you're 35 is an opportunity, and potentially you can build your career out of it. And he then says, but any piece of technology that comes along after you're 35 will bring about the end of the world and must be completely rejected. And I love that, because as I get later into my career, I see technologies, and it's very easy for me to look at things and go, what's the point? I don't, and I think of that quote because it takes me to that point where I think, just because this doesn't have value to me doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. And every time I see something new, especially in this accelerating pace of change, I constantly come back to that. Just because it doesn't have value to me doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. And I just think that's a healthy thing to think about as we kind of continue with this massive onslaught of technological change. So when I think about kind of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, I kind of think of it as three waves. NetApp very much started in what I call the first wave, which was, we were the NAS company, the storage company, the filer company. We were there to help companies consolidate, to accelerate, and to protect data that was created by users and applications. That wave doesn't go away. That wave is still there. Companies are still looking at how do we modernize and consolidate and make existing kind of traditional platforms more efficient, more reliable. But what we've seen is other waves starting to come in. The second wave, which was very much about kind of flash and virtualization. And there was a big change that happened in the second wave, which I just wanted to point out, which was the definition of data changed. Up until this point, data was what got created by users or applications. In the second wave, when we started to virtualize, suddenly data was everything. Data is the application, it is the operating system, it is the virtual machine, and it is the data being created. In that second wave, there was lots of talks about companies like NetApp, infrastructure type companies that, this would be the end of us. And they were wrong. The reality was we were able to start kind of manifesting these incredible data services that we've been building and bring these to life inside these new virtual environments that people were designing. Suddenly we could show these groups of virtualization, these private cloud teams, that having the right data services in place could add real value. This wave also does not go away. Companies are still building infrastructure, platform as a service, more of this kind of private cloud model. But what we're seeing is very much the third wave. And all that happens is people's focus changes. In the third wave, it's all about cloud, whether it's public cloud, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid multi-cloud, because as vendors, we love to smash all these terms together and create new ones for you. And we think that the opportunity for NetApp in this third wave is very much to help companies create data fabrics. Data continues to be the most important thing, which is exactly what Constantine was just talking about as well. All waves continue. People will continue to want to modernize what they have. People will continue to build and develop private clouds for better automation. And increasingly, people will look to move to hybrid cloud, public cloud, or even multiples of the different public clouds as well. And our job is to service all of these different waves. So how do I see it playing out? Like I meet with a lot of different companies, probably 3, 4, 5 companies a day at the moment, since we went into lockdown. And I wanted to give you a sense of what are the trends that we're sort of seeing people talk about. How does this play out, this kind of journey that people are on? There will continue to be investments into on-premises technology, like I just said. We will continue, and we are seeing people take applications that don't necessarily belong in the public cloud, but move those to outsourcers, service providers, hosting providers, where they don't have to worry about them. They worry about a service level agreement. We're seeing a massive increase in renting the application as a service. Going forward, it is going to be increasingly difficult for you to buy and install software, because the companies that are bringing these new software technologies to market, they don't want to sell it to you. And there's several reasons for it. The first one is they don't want to get back into the old way of doing things, which is that they have thousands of customers running hundreds of thousands of different installations of their software, because the support, trying to keep people up to date, is just a nightmare for people. That's one reason. The second reason is companies that sell software as a service have a higher market valuation. So we know that this trend has started, this trend will continue. And when we think about cloud, it isn't just what are we going to put into the cloud, it's also what are we going to consume as a service from the cloud. We'll see a shift between private and public, and this is played out in a lot of different areas. One of the reasons we see this, and it is just one of many, is if I go back 2 or 3 years ago, maybe just 2 years ago, I would ask people, what's your cloud strategy? And people would go, cloud first. I go, well, okay, but technically that's a mandate, not a strategy. So what's your strategy to go cloud first? And they would say, Amazon. I go, again, I don't want to be picky, but what you've got there is a destination. What's your strategy to go cloud first as a mandate with Amazon as a destination? And at that point, people would go, and it all got a bit vague. And I think it's because people took this on as a mandate, and it kind of filtered down from the higher levels in the organization. And as that landed onto IT as this cloud first mandate, IT just grabbed whatever was easiest to move and just moved it. The problem was no one thought about what's the value. And no one realized that actually this could be more expensive. It was just, let's get rid of stuff. It turned out there wasn't much additional value, and a lot of those workloads came back because they were actually much more expensive to run that way. And there'll be a lot more reasons why we see this. The drive to build internal private clouds continues. IT spending at the moment, about 30% of IT spending tends to be on how do we build the platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, that kind of private cloud type model. So we'll continue to see companies invest in that. And microservices, which changes everything. When we think about microservices and containers, suddenly it opens up whole new opportunities for us. There was a promise with VMware going back, a year or two ago, where you could take a virtual machine and just throw it out to the cloud and then bring it back again. We talked about cloud bursting, which might be a term you remember from those days. And the reality was it was nonsense. We found some use cases. Take an app to the cloud, test, development, disaster recovery, but the idea of taking an application and all of its data and just throwing that out to the cloud, when the applications have interdependencies, the volume has mass and gravity, was just something that never really happened. With microservices and containers, it can. Suddenly, these are tiny little containers that usually come to life to perform a purpose and then die off again afterwards. Where you start them, where they run, the portability is very, very different. So I think we'll start to see more kind of arbitrage as people make decisions about where they bring these containers online. And then the last one, which is something that I think more and more people are really recognizing right now, you need visibility, insights, and the ability to have ongoing cost optimization. You may know what you've got on premises. You may also have a good idea of what you have in one cloud. But what about when another cloud comes online or another cloud comes online? How do you start to get consistent insights and visibility? We are giving, with the cloud, the application developers, the application owners, the ultimate in flexibility, the ultimate in the ability to just consume from a limitless pool of compute and storage resources. And with that ultimate in flexibility and agility comes a double-edged sword. How do you stop? It's not abuse because people are abusing it intentionally. It's just that people don't shut things down. People consume vast amounts of resources because they want to, not because that's what they actually need. So having visibility as these models build out from the data center is going to be increasingly important going forward. So somebody asked me once, what does this look like? What do these three waves look like if you were to give me a picture in my mind? This is not my analogy. I borrowed this from somebody else, but I have extended to it. And this is how I visualize what are we talking about when we think first wave, second wave, third wave. In the first wave, the way we thought about IT, my first two Oracle servers that I ran were called Asterisk and Obelisk. I gave them names. I gave them a data center to live in. I fed them with electricity. I cooled them with air conditioning. I treated my systems like they were my pets. And if they got sick, I did my best to make them better. We will still have these. These pet type workloads aren't going away anytime soon. So we still have to think about these. The second wave changed things. When we think about virtualization, suddenly we didn't have 10, 20 servers that we all gave names to. Suddenly we had hundreds of different virtual servers that were all running important applications. And we don't give them all individual names. We don't treat them the same way as our pets. We think of them more like cattle. It's much, much more like a herd. They're all important, but we don't name them. And, if one of them gets sick, we still try and make it better. If it gets really sick, you shoot it, kill it, remove it, and replace it with another one. So we think differently about how we manage the herd, how we manage these virtual environments. So going forward, when we think about microservices and containers, the paradigm changes again. Suddenly it's thousands of tiny little virtual machines that come to life, perform a function, die off again. And we need to think of these very differently. They're not like cattle. They are much, much more like insects. So when we look at what does IT visually look like as we look across these three different waves, it is very much be thinking in terms of pets and cattle and insects. So what we've had to focus on as NetApp has matured through these three waves is what are the kind of transitions and imperatives that we think we can help. We want people to demand more from the cloud. The cloud is fantastic, but there's a lot of things it still can't do. We want to be able to take in efficiencies. We want to be able to take in compliance. We want to be able to take in caching. We want to provide capabilities inside the cloud that maybe don't exist, or even if they do, don't exist in a consistent fashion across multiple clouds. We want to help people get the best of both worlds. How do you start to take those on-premises platforms and integrate them with the cloud, connect them to the cloud, whether that's for test, development, disaster recovery, whether that's for simply tiering data off to reduce costs. And we want to help companies continuously optimize for the future. We want to give you visibilities and insights so that you know exactly what you have at any point in time so that you can make better decisions. And in some cases, we want to help you automatically optimize your environment such that we're reducing the costs. And we call this a data fabric. This is not a NetApp data fabric. I want to be very, very clear on this. What we want to do is help companies build their data fabrics, to build your data fabric that enables you to do one, two, or all of these different things. And that, we believe, gives companies freedom of choice. The ability to make decisions today, because you have to do things now. You can't stop. If you stop, you're going backwards. But how do you make sure that if you make an investment today, it gives you that freedom of choice to do the things you might need to do in the future? I had a company I met with a few weeks ago who said, we need to do something now. We need to make an investment, but we don't really want to go to the cloud, but we know that in 6 to 12 months, the business is going to tell us we have to. And I don't want to be the person going back to the business after we've spent $1 million on an on-premises infrastructure to tell them, by the way, we didn't realize you wanted to go to the cloud. We need to spend more money. We need to think about simplicity. If we're not careful, what we could end up doing, we spent the last decade breaking down technology silos. And as we look to the future with build it yourself, converged, hyper-converged, object, software as a service, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, we're in danger of building up a new generation of silos that are just different from the old ones. So we want to make sure that we're bringing simplicity to this. And then finally, protection. How do you make sure that data and applications are protected in a consistent fashion, regardless of where they're deployed? How do you make sure they're encrypted in a consistent fashion? How do you make sure that you're compliant if you're starting to move data and applications out to different cloud providers? So we've tend to focus on 6 or 7 workloads. These are not exclusive, but they're the ones that come up most frequently in conversations that I have. And what we've been doing is building out a suite of different endpoints. We can call them storage devices, but I'm going to call them endpoints because they can exist in the cloud as well. And what we wanted to do was say, we have a technology, an endpoint, a storage device that can deliver on the exact requirements of the workload you're looking to address. So for enterprise applications, it might be very low latency, very high performance, very high throughput, in which case our all-flash FAS is probably a good candidate. But what we then wanted to do was look at, but how do you want to deploy it? Do you want to deploy this on premises? Do you want to go into a hybrid model? Or do you want to go fully into the cloud? And having this combination of different endpoints means that not only can we use an endpoint to address the characteristics of the workload, we can then say to you, well, if you want to be fully on premises, then an all-flash FAS replicating to another one in another location, good solution. What about going hybrid? Why not replicate your all-flash FAS to our cloud volumes capability running in Amazon, Microsoft, or Google? Now you've got a hybrid platform. And what if at some point in the future, you were so comfortable with how that cloud-based part of what you were doing was working, you could simply switch off your on-premises one? That's been the focus for us, but that's storage. That's how do we provide these endpoints to give people the right kind of deployment characteristics. The next focus for us really was around what are the data services that we could add to this that would make this simple, that would make it protected, that would increase the level of automation. The first one was Discover. We have tools now that can discover your on-premises infrastructure from any vendor, that can look into Amazon, Microsoft, and Google and discover that as well, and can give you a single pane of glass that shows you exactly what you are running on premises, across multiple locations, across multiple vendors, and across any of the cloud providers. We can make recommendations as to how you can optimize that. If we see a volume with 500 terabytes of data on it and you haven't accessed 300 of that for 6 months, we'll flag that. We'll proactively tell you. And because we have capabilities such as Fabric Pool, which is our tiering function, we can say, would you like to tier that to a lower cost form of storage? We can integrate and connect. Once we've discovered all of these volumes of data that exist on premises and across multiple clouds, we can simply drag and drop to make connections between them. Whether that's to do integration because we're creating more of a hybrid platform for you, or whether it's because we've discovered 100 remote locations and you need that data back to the core so that you can protect it, or you can get it in front of the teams doing analytics, we can simply via drag and drop start bringing workload, bringing data back to where it's needed. And we can adapt and protect. Adapt is about how do we constantly look, typically for the cloud, at the resources that you're running and align them to the application demands. So a good example would be, maybe you're running virtual desktop. You know that the peak workload for virtual desktop is morning, lunchtime, and afternoon. But when people set these kind of environments up in the cloud, they typically set up the environments, the compute and storage for the peak. Well, why not have an environment where your compute and storage tracks the workload? That we're assigning the amount of compute required for the particular time of the day that it's required. What if we're shaping the characteristics of the volume such that the volume is providing the performance to the desktop environment as the desktop environment fluctuates during the day? What if we can do that automatically? That substantially reduces the costs of running applications inside the cloud. And then finally, protect. We can provide consistent protection, consistent encryption. That's sort of what we've always been known for. But if I come back to my enterprise application example, you have an all-flash FAS on premises. You have maybe you're running our Azure NetApp files or our cloud volume service inside Microsoft. Now you've got a hybrid platform. But what if there's data going out into that cloud and you want to make sure you're not taking anything out there that's personally identifiable? Our cloud compliance allows us to scan any volume, any NetApp volume inside any of the clouds and look for personally identifiable information to warn you proactively whether there's something out there that could expose you to some sort of regulatory or compliance breach. And we'll do that not just for file-based data, but for SAP HANA, for SQL, for Oracle. And it's all of these capabilities, the combination of these, which is why we want to bring the right pieces together to help you build your data fabric. And it won't be one or two, it might be a combination of different things, depending on the workloads, depending on, are you on premises, are you hybrid, are you cloud native? But we want to bring these capabilities together to start creating a very, very powerful data fabric for you. So I'll finish with a recent acquisition we made of a company called Spot. Spot is very much for cloud native environments. What it does 2 or 3 things for us. Spot can look at enterprise applications you're already running in the cloud and can make recommendations as to how you could reduce the costs. A lot of companies that run an enterprise application in the cloud don't commit. They simply use on-demand compute resources, which are the most expensive resources you can consume. So we can look at that and we can optimize it based on commit patterns. For cloud native applications, if you're to bring a container, a Kubernetes online, then what if you could call Spot and we could align the most appropriate lowest cost compute resources at the time of instantiation? And for user desktops, we have a capability to bring online a very, very dynamically Windows Virtual Desktop across Microsoft, Amazon, Google, or on premises. And because we have that significant level of very, very simple automation, a desktop can simply come online. It can call Spot, which gives it the appropriate lowest cost compute resources. And then at the end of the day, that desktop gets shut down, the compute resources are released. What we're seeing from companies using our cloud volumes in the cloud and using Spot is anywhere between 60 and 90% cloud compute and storage savings. So it's really, really dramatic, the abilities to be able to optimize. So why NetApp? I think we've been in the industry for a long time, 1992, and we're known for kind of storage technologies for delivering data services. We've got tools that have matured over a long period of time to allow you to do these kind of analytics. A very trusted independence with a strong partner ecosystem. We started partnering with Microsoft, Amazon, and Google almost 5 years ago now. So this is not new. We have a very, very strong set of partnerships which are continue to grow. We are actually a first-party service inside Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform. That's the level of the relationship that we've built up. We're known for running business-critical applications. And now that we've taken our data services into the cloud, now we're becoming recognized for helping companies run enterprise applications in the cloud as well. So I'm going to finish with this one final point, which is I do thank you for taking the time to be with us on this conference today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you virtually, and I hope to be able to get down to South Africa again at some point in the future. But what I'd like you to take away from this, if nothing else, maybe the Douglas Adams quote, but more importantly, thinking about everything I just talked about, how could we help you to build your data fabric? And what would your data fabric look like? Thank you very much for your time and listening to me today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Matt, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Matt, you started off, you talked about the fact that a number of customers in the past sort of, had a cloud strategy, cloud first, that's what we're doing, but, a lot of missing pieces sort of in the middle. How have you seen, if you look at that today, do you think that's changed drastically? Do you think a lot of customers are still looking to go to the cloud, but still really not sure how to get there? And I suppose in line with that is how do you see the adoption growing at the moment of the tools that you talk about, which really help understand the different types of workloads to put in the cloud, and the different ways of actually managing that more effectively in a hybrid model?
Yeah, so thanks for I appreciate the question. It's a really good one because we talk all about cloud. And the reality is I've looked at a lot of the statistics we get from the analysts. And over the next 2, 3, or 4 years, the predictions still are that about 30% of the budget will be on the more traditional on-premises technology, 30 to 40% of IT budgets will be on private cloud, and about 30% or the remaining percentage will be public cloud. So I think the maturity that I've seen is we've gone from cloud first ! To cloud first ? question mark. And now companies are looking at it going, should we, could we, and is it the right thing to do? And by the way, cloud does not necessarily mean, if we're going to go cloud first, are we putting it in Amazon, Microsoft, or Google? Cloud first can mean, do we need to build a private cloud and have this hosted on a private cloud? So there's definitely a maturing of people's thought processes around cloud. We're definitely moving to cloud first as a question mark rather than as a kind of a statement. And very much the technologies have really matured. I mean, we're, certainly from a NetApp perspective, we have thousands of customers that are using our cloud technologies now. And from a business perspective, it is a significantly and rapidly growing part of our business.
Okay, great. Matt, thank you very much. Really great to have you join us today, and pleasure to have you come and talk to us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, and our next keynote speaker is a long time friend and colleague that I've known for almost 14 years, I think, when he originally started working, when he was working at Cisco, and we met in Nairobi in Kenya. But Christian Kerr is the Vice President of the Partner Organization for Europe, Middle East, and Africa at NetApp. Christian is responsible for the accountable for defining and executing on NetApp's partner go-to-market strategy, and that's delivering through the partner ecosystem. He's got deep experience in direct partnering models, indirect models, working with channel distribution and alliances, as well as cloud and service providers. He's been at Juniper, Cisco, as I mentioned, Verizon, and Brocade. So over 20 years in the IT industry, across a number of different territories and roles, based in the UK. Christian, great pleasure to have you join us today.
Thank you, Rak, and it's great to see you. Right, I think the last time we were together was last year, but yeah, we've enjoyed partnerships in different countries for a number of years. I also just want to extend a welcome to the audience. Thank you for the introduction. There was one bit that's evolved as well recently, whereby I'm responsible for Africa, actually a number of countries across EMEA, which includes continental Africa as well. So I really appreciate the invite and the partnership as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, we can get started. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for everybody in the audience. And I found this picture which was taken last year. So this was when we effectively evolved the partnership between Westcon and Comstore to the next level. And I think, since we sort of re-established and, put some extra emphasis on the partnership about 18 months ago, we've seen tremendous business velocity. Obviously, the climate has changed, and it's been some time since that I've been on an airplane and been able to visit Africa. I think, as Rak mentioned, I'm based in the UK. But actually, I was born in South Africa, and I've been fortunate to travel throughout Africa on business and pleasure. And it never fails to amaze me in terms of what the opportunity is and how quickly it's evolving. So I want to thank everybody in the virtual room for the partnership, all the partners and all the customers. I think you've been given some strong insight into NetApp from Matt and also from Ducati, our customer. So I just want to take you through a bit more in terms of the strategy and ultimately, where NetApp are heading. So this picture was taken, I think, about 18 months ago, and actually, over the period of 18 months, a lot has changed within NetApp. You've heard from Matt in terms of some of the recent acquisitions. We're 28 years old, so we are a pretty traditional organization, but we've been evolving significantly, and I think this really validates, right, from an outside perspective in terms of how progressive NetApp is, right? So this is a quote from IDC. So they recognize that a new NetApp is on the rise, and you've heard a lot about that today. And a lot of enterprise customers, I know there's a lot of customers at the event today, and I want to thank you for the partnership. And I know there's many that have been working with us for years, but actually there's a lot of customers that don't fully understand, or have had access to how we've evolved recently. And it's some protection of the best kept secret in the industry. This is real validation from a strong third party in terms of how NetApp is evolving into the new NetApp. So not just IDC. So just again, since that picture was taken, there's a few additional. And this is only a snapshot of the recognition that NetApp have received. So clearly a leader in primary storage. Who would have thought, an organization like NetApp gets recognized by Google as a cloud technology partner of the year for infrastructure, right? Nobody would have thought about that a few years ago. And then, one that I continuously monitor is really about, how our partners and distributors see NetApp. And I'm pleased to say, Canalys, who have their own sort of magic quadrant, have put us in the top right for 2 years as a channel champion, and that's strong validation that comes from the partners in the room today. So a bit about the new NetApp and the recognition and how we're evolving. But we've recently been through a rebranding exercise, which I'm sure many of you have seen perhaps on social media. And this is what we want to be known for. So we unlock the best of cloud. So what does that mean? I mean, we want to be recognized, and we are recognized as the cloud specialist. So I think if you look in 3 different areas, what does that mean? So the first thing is really about how can we work with you to modernize and simplify IT? Okay, so this is really about accelerating mission-critical business applications with speed, automation, and at the heart of that is cloud-connected flash, right? And I think cloud-connected flash, the reason I call that out, because the conversations that I have with customers, right, across the entire continent, you've really got to question, the next buying cycle for infrastructure. If it is not cloud connected or cloud ready, you're effectively getting boxed in. So I think it's critical from a NetApp standpoint that we pave the way for our customers, right? So they're cloud ready and cloud enabled. The second element is really about supporting partners and customers to build private clouds, but for speed and agility. So this is about getting performance at scale, right? So NetApp helps bring the simplicity of public cloud to on-premise IT. Okay, so that's the second pillar. And then the third pillar behind this sort of rebranding is really about helping you fuel data-driven innovations on your choice of clouds. So it's really about enabling you to deploy workloads to the cloud faster, right? And this is about harnessing the full potential of the world's biggest clouds, right? And you'll see shortly, and I know it's been talked about earlier on, how progressive we are and how advanced we are in terms of the partnerships and relationships that we have with the world's biggest public cloud providers. So we're building on a strong foundation. I mentioned earlier, right? We're in our 28th year, but we want to take the skill, the innovation, the R&D, the expertise that we've built in the data center and the software innovations to become the data-centric software specialist, right? We work with a lot of organizations on a worldwide basis, right? I've already mentioned the partnerships that we have with Azure, with Google, with Amazon, with IBM. And our approach is quite different. We don't take it from the infrastructure, right? We look at it from the data fabric. Data is the core asset of any organization. And it was some years ago that that NetApp effectively, I would say, maybe invented, the data fabric, positioning, and we lead in that space. And it's really about enabling customers to get access to their data whenever they want, to extract maximum value from it, from through the analytics, to provide access to it, regardless of the cloud medium, and of course, to put the security wrapper around it as well, which is critical at the moment, especially during the COVID-19 situation. We're backed up by strong financials, and I think we've got a real proven track record of really maximizing and leveraging technology to support customers so they can gain competitive advantage as market transitions. And we saw that, as the transition to cloud, we were right front and center of that movement. But also, I don't know if we would call it a market transition, but our world has been turned upside down in the last 6 months, and this fits, in terms of the way that businesses have had to mobilize. It fits to the sweet spot of NetApp, and we've been enjoying success, because of our leadership in hybrid multi-cloud, and that is becoming the de facto, right, in the new normal. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on the solution sets, because these have been talked about already. But you've heard that we've been through an acquisition trial, especially in the last months, mainly focused on cloud, with Talon, with CloudJumper, with Spot. So the portfolio is broadening. But if I was to boil it down, right, into the primary areas where we're focused in supporting customers, at the current moment, we can put it into effectively 4 buckets, right? So it's really about enabling customers and giving them the flexibility, right, through our partnerships to access file and block services in the public cloud. I've already mentioned, the partnerships we have in that space. And we also see a huge opportunity as more and more enterprise customers are moving databases around different cloud mediums and moving those applications and making them available across different environments. So we've built some strong reference architectures around SAP, Oracle. We have done for a number of years, and we'd be more than willing to support you and work with our partners in terms of going out and co-creating solutions around those reference architectures. The third pillar is infrastructure foundations, and of course, VDI, end user computing, virtualization. That has exploded, right, in the last few months as workforces have been deployed in a remote environment. So we continue to provide customers and support partners in going out and developing those solutions, so they can mobilize workforces in different environments while giving business continuity, so you can keep the business running, regardless of the current situation. And then, of course, we can't dismiss, what's happening around some of the modern workloads, deep learning, AI. We've got a very strong partnership with NVIDIA. This is taking us into new areas, right? It's data sits at the heart of AI, and we're moving into new areas within the customers. And we want to continue to go out and support customers, data scientists, as they look to extract maximum value out of AI and DevOps. So I'm just going to touch on some of the macro dynamics and industry trends, and this is very much from a NetApp view. So I think, as we've observed, especially in the last 6 months, speed is the new scale, right? So it's how quickly organizations can adopt a change, right? And we know, we've seen it, we've observed it, we hear it from customers and partners that we've been able to support those rapid transitions. I don't think there's any doubt now whether cloud is the platform, right? We can see that, right? You just have to look at the growth of some of the public cloud providers, right? It's over the last few years. So cloud is the platform, and for sure, data is the currency. Data is the currency. Data is the core asset. Data is where the value is within an organization. And I think in the early days, right, a couple of years ago, we saw sort of a mad rush of some organizations moving everything into the public cloud. But then we've seen a repatriation of stuff coming back out of the public cloud. And I think it's a given now that hybrid multi-cloud is the de facto IT architecture. It's the most flexible. It's the most cost-effective. It allows organizations to be agile and react to different situations. So, we hear it, we see it, right? When we're speaking to customers, when we're speaking to partners, right? That whole hybrid multi-cloud is where it's at, and NetApp sits, right in the center of that. I mentioned data fabrics. Matt's talked about data fabrics as well, and I think years ago it was all about building huge capacities, building huge data centers, whereas now it's really about providing those enterprise services and availability, right, across a fabric, that's transporting data right across an organization, across your ecosystem, as well as across the different cloud mediums that you're supporting in your own businesses. So data fabrics for sure replace data centers. Data centers still exist, right? And we'll see some numbers in a second. But I think the interest from an organization is really about extracting maximum value out of that data, and us providing that fabric so you can extract maximum value out of that data. Just from a customer standpoint as well, and these are some of the core points that have been surfaced from customers, right? As we look in the new normal, okay, so the environment that we're operating in today. I think, short term, it was really about supporting customers and partners, right, and making sure that your businesses could continue. For sure, there was a focus on cost optimization because of the uncertainty. And I think cash is king at the moment as well. So we are supporting customers at the moment to make sure that they can extract maximum out of their existing investments. For sure, remote work enablement, right? I think this event, right, as well as all the other industry events, have gone virtual. I myself haven't been in the office since March, like many of you. But the transition was seamless, within my organization. And we also wanted to make sure that we were providing that seamless transition for many of our customers. Also, the way that we do business has changed dramatically as well, right? So just in terms of the remote customer engagement, if I speak about myself personally, I was visiting 1 or 2 countries every week up until March, spending time with customers and partners at events like these. That's changed, right? Now, I'm stuck on Zoom and Teams and everything else for 10, 12 hours a day, but we've adapted very quickly, and I think this is the new normal. And whilst it's at the beginning it was tougher, right? I think to engage with customers. Now, I'm based in the UK and there are restrictions have lifted slightly, and we can meet with customers, but even a lot of customers are saying, what, I've got myself in a rhythm, I'm effective, I'm productive, I would rather meet via Zoom, which is fine, right? And save on the hour travel either side of it. So that short term, and I think we're sort of over that hump, and now we're into the medium term, and this is really about providing that business resilience. And we talked about the customer experience, right? It's everything will be digital, right? Over the coming months, and everything from innovation to development of product, how we take services to market, there's going to be a much stronger emphasis on the impact of digital. You look at value chains and ecosystem as well, right? Where in some industries, it was physical and it will remain physical, but I think organizations have been forced to quickly look at how they can digitize some of those operations as well. And if I look at NetApp, just internally, I think, because we're operating in the new normal, right? There's sometimes a different skill set that is required, right? So, we will continue to look for early stage, younger talent, also individuals that have come out of that flexible working environment, that are more suited to the working with born in the cloud operators as well. So I think the whole profile of talent within an organization is changing, which means I need to change, and probably everybody in this room who's been in the industry for a while needs to change slightly as well. I've already talked about the importance of data, and I think if you look at these couple of quotes here, so data will be the most unique or predictable competitive advantage, right? We know that, and I think even with all the work that's going on now around finding a vaccine for COVID-19, data, of course, right, is right at the center of that. And when I talk to customers and partners, it's not really about, we talk about digital transformation. It's not necessarily about transforming the server, storage, networking, the infrastructure, right? I think in the early days of digital transformation, we looked at how we can optimize and simplify our IT operations. But in the last year, we've seen a massive surge, right, where organizations are just focusing on the data, right? Is data is the core asset, and how can they use data, right, to transform their organization so they can lead in a digital environment. So NetApp strategy is, as I said, we've been at this for 28 years, so it's really leveraging our strong heritage in that data-centric world, and providing the right software innovations to help customers transition into that hybrid cloud world, right? And you'll see a couple of stats in a minute. So I think the hybrid cloud, as I mentioned, is the de facto. But what does that mean? So we as NetApp, working with our partners, engaging with our customers, we need to bring the flexibility and simplicity of cloud, right, to the enterprise data center. I mentioned earlier on that it's really about building data fabrics as opposed to building data centers. So we want to be able to make sure that customers can still enjoy the simplicity and flexibility that they're used to, but also harness the benefits that cloud provides. And then it's the next phase of that is really about bringing enterprise data services to the public clouds, right? And that's that's at the core of our strategy, and that's the continued development and extension of the partnerships that we have with the largest public cloud providers. So just as I get close to the end, we talk a lot about cloud. We talk a lot about data. But I think just in terms of some stats, if you look out for the next few years, the capacity, right, the amount of data that needs to be stored will continue to increase, right, in double digits. So that still creates huge demand for on-premise infrastructure, of course, right, and to support that hybrid cloud motion. Whilst the cloud represents a huge opportunity, there is still a huge amount of opportunity and investment going into all-flash arrays. And as I pointed out earlier on, I think now more than ever, I don't think any customers or partners want to get boxed in, right? So really need to question any future investments if they're not cloud connected. And our portfolio, it's we've opened it up. We give freedom of choice in terms of the cloud providers and the cloud platforms that based on your choice, effectively. So huge growth in data storage. And then, just if you look at all-flash arrays, of course, we continue to see NetApp as tremendous growth there as the leader in this space. And, if you look at the adoption there, just in the next couple of years, we're expecting to see a 2x just in terms of number of customers absorbing and consuming all-flash arrays. And again, this is mainly driven by that need, for speed, flexibility, agility, certainly around enterprise applications. So we want to continue to work with you as well and support you, right, on building out, right, your cloud-connected environments. So I mentioned a couple of times that, hybrid multi-cloud is the de facto. So, if we look at just large organizations, and this was taken from a large span of customers, so 93% of enterprises have a multi-cloud strategy. Hopefully, that's not surprising to anyone in the audience. And 87% of enterprise have a hybrid cloud strategy. Okay, so this has changed a lot over the last couple of years. So this is why NetApp is confident that we have the best portfolio, we have the best partnerships, we're working with the best partners and customers, and we want to help you on that journey to the cloud, wherever you may be. We realize certain industries, are much more advanced, but it's clear that multi-cloud and hybrid cloud is the future for enterprises, and we are a key player in that space. And as I said, we want to support you on that journey. I just want to finish on this slide and this quote. So I'm going to read it out, just so it sinks in. So digital transformation, of course, was a line item on every CEO's agenda, well before COVID-19. In fact, for years, right? And I think what that meant to different organizations is very different, right? But I think now, digital transformation will be accelerated, and because of data, right, and the importance of that critical asset for any organization. So digital transformation has been on any enterprise's agenda for a long time. But what we've seen, and it's quoted here as well, is the digital agenda for all of the customers that I've been speaking to has accelerated and raised in importance to the top of the priority list, right? And I'm sure many of the customers and partners in the room today would agree with that, right? So the importance of being able to have a flexible, agile IT operation, to be able to burst and scale into the cloud, to be able to access different applications, right, across different cloud mediums, right, in a secure environment. So internal employees and customers can access that critical asset, which is data. So I think it is a fantastic time to be in this industry. There's a huge transformation going on. There's a huge transition going on in the way that organizations do business. It's been accelerated by the pandemic in the last 6 months. So I think, it's a fantastic place to be in, whether you be in NetApp or whether you be in IT within a customer, or whether you're working at a partner supporting customers and working with NetApp. Because we, collectively are bringing those solutions and allowing customers and partners to harness the full value of that data, leveraging our partnerships with some of the biggest public cloud providers. So with that, I want to say thank you again. Thank you for supporting and joining this event. Thank you for the partnership. Thank you to the customers for the investment in NetApp, and also thank you, Westcon, for the perfect partnership, as we call it, and the commitment that we've built over the years, and we will continue to grow and evolve our partnership to support partners and customers in the room today. So thanks again.
Thank you very much, Christian, and to you and to the whole NetApp team. A big thank you for your partnership over the years. It's a phenomenal partnership for us that we're very proud to represent your brand and be part of that across sub-Saharan Africa. You know, you finished there around the digital transformation, you know, how that's risen to the top of the agendas. And I remember at the beginning of COVID sort of seeing a meme that was going around of, you know, who drove digital transformation in your business, your CEO, your CIO, or COVID? And I think that's true, right? It's almost similar to what Matt said, you know, where customers saying cloud first, but still trying to figure out what the roadmap is or how to get there. I think if you'd asked people 6 months ago about digital transformation, you know, everybody's doing digital transformation, but what that meant to everybody was always going to be slightly different. But it's accelerated so rapidly. Even ourselves in events like this, which we are now running on a regular basis, you know, reaching a couple of hundred people across sub-Saharan Africa, we would have traditionally done in a room somewhere, replicated it again and again. You know, digital tools and being able to access that is just one side of it, and it's made a massive difference for us as well. You know, I suppose as well, NetApp, what I find so refreshing is how you talk about hybrid multi-cloud environments and you know, knowing that customers are going to make that journey. And you know, I suppose you know, traditional storage would be kind of see that as a defensive thing, because does that not mean we're going to lose out ultimately on storage opportunities? But as you've shown, the growth opportunity in this market is massive, and customers are using a combination of platforms. I think what NetApp really has that is so unique and so special is also the tools, the analytics, the ability to help customers manage those environments, you know, as one, be able to see between them. There was a question that came in around that maybe you can help with from one of the audience, which was sort of what's the best approach in walking customers through the data fabric roadmap? In other words, I think where do we start, and what are the questions to help a customer understand that roadmap?
Yeah, you know, I mentioned earlier on that I think every customer is in different stages of the evolution around digital transformation. So you can't buy a data fabric, right? It's not an item on our price list, right? So typically, what we would do is we would engage with a customer, or you know, with a partner as well, to understand, you know, the data requirements of any given customer, right? And then we would design and architect, right, with the partner, working with the IT and staff within the customer, to go out and build the best scalable environment, leveraging, you know, on-prem capabilities as well as hybrid and public cloud services. So there it isn't, you know, every customer has different requirements. You know, as I said, data fabric doesn't exist as a part. So it's really about understanding, you know, the customer's requirements and needs, and then making sure that we build the right solution around that, right, to support, you know, their individual requirements. So yeah, no hard and sort of strict answer to that one.
Sure, thanks, Christian. There's another one, which is, I know NetApp launched Keystone a while back. Will this be available for our market soon? And if so, how soon would it be available to partners?
Yeah, so just for the wider audience, so Keystone is our flexible cloud consumption model, so pay-as-you-grow cloud model. So we launched it actually at a big customer event Insight last November, and it's currently available in a handful of countries across Europe. Now, I have had some conversations in the last few weeks with a partner in South Africa who's expressed an interest. So I think whilst it's not necessarily on the short-term roadmap, and by the way, Keystone might not be the answer to everything. So again, just like the data fabric story, I think if there's a partner or if there's a customer who wants to consume cloud and IT, right, in a different model than CapEx, we have a number of offerings that sit under the Keystone umbrella, right? There's pure cloud consumption, but there's traditional leasing, there's what we call X as a service, there's storage as a service. So I would say if there is interest, then approach us, right, through the team that's supporting NetApp in Africa, and we'll be happy to have a conversation to understand what the individual requirements are.
Perfect. Thanks, Christian. And one last question that's come through is what's your view of green computing in regards to migrating to cloud technologies? Do you think cloud technology is an advantage to making technology more green?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And I mentioned earlier on this concept of transitioning from huge enterprise data centers to building an organization's data fabric, and I think the benefits of cloud and to a large extent data fabric is being able to utilize resources on demand, right? So I've lost count of the number of customers that I've been in conversation with who have got so much capacity, right, that they're not using, right, or even so much data, right, that they're storing, which they're not even accessing. And there's a huge environmental cost associated, right, with running those operations. So for sure, I think cloud, and leveraging the capabilities of shared resources definitely has a positive impact on green computing and the environment.
Perfect. Thanks, Christian. Christian, again, a huge thank you to you, the whole NetApp team, and for joining us today and for being part of the summit. Really appreciate you taking the time, having you being on, and it was wonderful to hear from you. I look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully in the not too distant future. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, and we'll chat soon.
Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, and ladies and gentlemen, we've now sort of come to the end of the main plenary sessions. Just before I wrap up, we did have one question that came through just slightly late for Constantine from Ducati, and it was a question around how much bandwidth is sort of used on race day. Constantine came back to me and explained that, and it's probably quite surprising, that the bandwidth requirements are only between 10 and 50 megabytes per second, and it changes based on location, obviously, of where the races are held around the world. But what's really more important to them is their cloud-based firewalls, which they use to manage latency, because latency is actually more key for them in terms of all the analytics and the work that has to go on, rather than just a large pipe. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today in the main auditorium session. I'm now going to ask you to join our breakout sessions. We have one session, but split into two. We have Christian Khalil, who's the technical partner manager for NetApp. He's based in Dubai, covering the Middle East and Africa region, and he's responsible about his owning partner relationships from a technology perspective, and extending support to all of the NetApp customers. He's got 14 years experience in the business, and he will be running the English breakout session. And he is joined by Francisco Baptista, a solutions engineer who is new to NetApp, having been there for the last year, from Portugal, and is part of the S3 Global Graduate Academy coming into NetApp. And he says when he's not reading, surfing, or telling stories, He's very much a solutions engineer within the NetApp team, and Francisco will be running the Portuguese session. So if you look at the bottom of your screens, there's literally 2 links to click on to join either of those sessions. And I want to thank you very much for being with me today in the main auditorium. Hope you enjoy the breakout sessions and have a further opportunity to ask questions to the 2 speakers. And a big thank you to NetApp as a partner and for the support from Ducati in today's event. And this will be the last you hear from me in this event. I wish you well, enjoy the breakouts, and I look forward to chatting with you all soon. Thank you.